Hello, welcome to Undisputed Boxing. We're here to discuss DAZN card, Josh Warrington versus Maurizio Lara 2. I'm here with a very tired Rick. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Both of us have had a pretty stacked weekend, but we have managed to see the main event. I've seen a little bit more than Rick, I think, so we're just going to run through the card pretty quickly. Obviously a bit of a disappointing end, all the build up, and obviously we both threw out our predictions, and then we're going to wrap it up with some boxing news as well. Yeah, how we doing?
Good, tired but good.
All right, let's just start at the top. Yeah, what did you make of it, Josh Warrington? Well, Maurizio Lara versus Josh Warrington, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, anticlimax in the end, but what an awful cut. So you can't blame anyone. It wasn't it was a headbutt. It wasn't on purpose, just a coming together, and these things happen, and don't happen very often, but it's happened, and that's that. And be a bit awkward now because he won't be able to fight for a while. So if they want to do a 3, they're gonna have to wait some time. Yeah, it was interesting because Warrington was obviously a lot more cautious. He had his gloves high, but he still was exchanging. There's a few times you were like, oh God, but I did think, I thought I was more confident in this, and I thought he just looked a bit more ready for war. And I thought he caught Lara a couple of times, but who knows? It was very early on when the stoppage came, but. It was one of these where it was he looked more ready for a war. He was more defensively ready, but he still can only fight in a certain way, and so he was within that realm. So yeah, it's hard to know how it would have gone, but he looked more ready for it.
Yeah,
I'd describe it.
I don't know. I just felt like he kind of felt his power, and then he just started kind of leaning in with his head, because he actually headbutted him. I think that was the 3rd time he caught him with his head. He had a very high guard, but yeah. And then as soon as he kind of was in the pocket with Lara, they were exchanging. I probably gave Warrington the 1st round, but only just because I think Lara caught him with about 3 or 4 big right hands. And he looked a little bit like a rabbit in headlights. And I don't know. I just thought, Warrington, started really well. Obviously, I think I probably gave him the 2nd round as well. But he was still getting caught badly by Warrington. By Lara. So I don't know. It just feels like the the headbutts just seem to be kind of going under the radar a little bit, and it's just one of those things a bit unfortunate. But leaning in with his head like that, I thought it was a little bit
down more to protect it. You could see his posture was a bit different, and whether that's brought his head forward more, that might be another thing. But he was trying to keep his chin down, and he was getting caught. There was definitely one shot where you could feel, you could see. I wouldn't say he wobbled, but you know what I mean. It was like a very, 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 very tiny wobble, something where you could tell he felt it. But there's just a thing of being ready for a war. Yeah, you know what I mean. I think he was mentally and probably physically ready for power coming back, and I think that does make you a different fighter. But I couldn't confidently say anyone was going to go in and win that fight. It was quite.
It's one of those where it could have been the toss of a coin, I think.
Yeah.
In the end, yeah.
It's hard because there's only 4 rounds, so not much to talk about. There's a bit to talk about, but you can't really talk much more, can you? So
no.
But shame, but that's boxing.
Yeah, I think it's probably just part of his defense. I'm not saying that he headbutted him intentionally, but he was leaning in with his head. I know that is a defensive sort of tactic as well. High guard, chin down, heads up. But yeah, I mean, we're just kind of robbed a little bit, really. They're obviously talking now about going straight into another fight, and then maybe revisiting Lara probably end of the 1st quarter of next year. Lara's obviously going to have a long layoff now with that horrific eye injury. Who would you like to see Warrington fight next if he is going to go in again with somebody?
I don't know really, because you don't. I wouldn't say you want to tick over, but you don't want to tick over that's too simple, because Lara's maybe a bit of a tick over.
Yeah.
but you want someone to keep you active, I suppose, keep you sharp without too much danger if Lara's next one. But it is a bit of a pain because this is going to go into next year, and he still hasn't sorted out the Lara issue.
Yeah.
So, and he's getting older and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Kid Galahad is going to be the right fight. I actually think Kid Galahad could probably beat him, and I think that'll just be too much of a risk. So yeah, we'll see. Other on the other fight on the card, obviously, I know that you saw was the Conor Benn versus Adrian Granados. What did you make of that?
Sorry, just before I feel sorry for the fans actually, because obviously a lot of people went there. A bit gutted for them because I know it's like going to a fight and being buzzing for it, and I've never experienced that after shelling out money and being there. So, felt sorry for them. But a tale of two halves with the Ben fight, really. I was quite, I quite enjoyed the first 5 rounds and thought he was doing well, and then I just got a bit frustrated.
Yeah,
I think. I did. I can't remember what were the scorecards. A whitewash.
It wasn't a complete whitewash. It was 10 round, wasn't it? So I think it was 190, 92, 98, 92, and then 97, 93, I believe.
Yeah, I gave him 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Actually, and there's arguments that said another one could have been a draw or even a win to him. There was a few rounds where not much went on. So I think Ben won quite comfortably, and I felt Ben probably had another gear, but messy a little bit, swinging wildly, a bit untidy. Good experience for him then, because he fought someone who was just on this bike and good movement. But yeah, I don't know if he's starting to believe in his own power and hype a bit, and just swinging. Some of them were way off the mark, and he had a really good, he was always really ready for him, and then the amount of times the shot came in and he moved his whole neck and body, away from it. If he has been caught, but he hadn't, you know what I mean? He's always doing that. So yeah, strange one really. It was kind of you can look at it in some way and go, actually, it was a good win because this guy was of a decent level, and he did win relatively comfortably. And I felt he had more gears if he needed to, but still, you're left a bit frustrated, and he was a bit scrappy. And he seemed to abandon his jab, which, when he did throw it a few times, was quite useful. I think what this will teach him, he needs a few more tricks.
Yeah.
He was throwing the jab to the body, overhand right, and he was getting red quite a lot. And you know what I mean? He needs a few more tricks, I think.
Yeah. I mean, his jab, it actually isn't that great, is it? I think Conor Benn's jab isn't fantastic. Either that, or he doesn't just chooses not to use it a lot. He doesn't seem to have ministered the jab very often.
There's been some fights where he uses it quite well, and there was pockets where there was one round he started, he did I think it was 2 jabs to the face, really quite strong, and then he was doing it to the body. I thought his body work was okay, but he kept head hunting, and it was just always way off.
Yeah, I think he's too eager to impress. I think maybe the cancelled or the postponement maybe didn't do him that many favors.
I was a bit worried for him, not so much about losing the fight through this, but almost like what I saw where, in interviews, he was just frustrated in interviews. I just want to get in the ring. And when he got in the ring, he was pacing up and down. I know everyone paces up and down, but he looked really, really, and it's experience for him. He's still young. He's still 23, isn't he? So, at the end of the day, it'll do him good to fight like that. And, he won. And, as we were discussing, I mean, I think you said points. We both said he'd win, but I think you said points, and I said late stoppage, I think.
Yeah. And I just know Granada's a very, very tricky customer. He has good lateral movement. He's very, very, very good feet. He's very quick. Yeah. I just knew that Conor Benn would have a bit of a nightmare with him on that. I knew that he'd beat him, but
yeah, I probably didn't appreciate how good his feet were and his lateral movement and stuff as well. But Ben never looked in trouble. I don't think Granada's looked that much in trouble. I think he buzzed a couple of times, but nothing heavy. So he can also take a shot. But he was very good at, when he got hit clean, he was still moving away.
Yeah.
Just take that last 20% out of the power. Yeah.
And that is another thing that he maybe needs to work on, is cutting off the ring a little bit. He was able to kind of slip out of range with his lateral movement quite easily. And Conor Benn's really got to start to kind of, cut off the ring a little bit better. So I think there's still like a lot of improvement. I mean, this talk of like Adrian Broner and Sean Porter, I think is still a little bit embarrassing. I think he's, Granados is a lot of, a few levels away from that. I think, he needs to fight an established top 20 guy. And if he beats them, looks good, then you can start, looking at, people like that. I think somebody like Omar Figueroa Jr. would be pretty good. Kavaliauskas, the Lithuanian who just lost to Virgil Ortiz. I think that would be a good. I mean, even that. I mean, Kavaliauskas that's a rough fight for Conor Benn. Trying to think. I mean, it's matching him with somebody that suits his style, somebody that does like to trade and isn't a kind of a slick boxer. I think a slick boxer is going to make Conor Benn not look very good. I'd say it would be brilliant. I mean, he's kind of too inactive now, but John Molina Jr. Would have had a great fight with Conor Benn. I don't think he's fought for a couple of years now.
Well, he's
Danny Garcia.
But that's a dangerous fight because he's a big puncher.
Yeah,
and obviously the levels up, but that would be a good.
Yeah.
Anyway, up for training will be a great fight with Ben, but I think it's good I think it's one of those fights I think will be good in the long run for him, but it leaves you a bit frustrated, especially after his last fight. He had a lot of momentum. It's like anything, you're as good as your last fight to some degree, and there was a lot of hype after what he did. And then this happens, it kind of just douses it down a bit. Probably good in the long run.
Yeah, I agree actually. Yeah. Better in the long run.
And that's where the card ended for me, I'm afraid. I know some of the results, but I didn't see any of the rest of the fights.
Yeah, so Katie Taylor, pretty much a routine win against Jennifer Han, former world champion in her own right. Good performance from Katie Taylor, but wasn't a fantastic fight. Obviously, a lot of talk around Amanda Serrano being not the next fight, but the fight after, so probably next year, which would be a cracking fight. And Maxi Hughes pulled off a massive upset. I think Giovanni Straffon was being touted as a potential opponent for Devin Haney for next year, alongside Richard Comey. So this is a massive win for Maxi Hughes, and he absolutely dominated him. Straffon just didn't have an answer for Maxi Hughes. He was reading, his cross all night and just sort of spinning out of the pocket. I think he did it maybe two or three times every round. Just kept on spinning, just rolling under his power shot, and Straffon just pretty much couldn't lay a glove on him. And Maxi Hughes has kind of put himself right into the lightweight mix now. I mean, it's a very stacked division, as we all know, but what a great performance from him in front of his home crowd, and that gave at least something for the Leeds fans to enjoy. Onwards and upwards for Maxi Hughes. I wonder what they're going to do with him next. He's in the mix. And that was all I saw. So I saw just 4 of those fights. I think overall, if I was to rate the card, I've got to say it's not obviously Hearn's fault that the final, the fight at the top of the bill ended early, but I had, overall the card was pretty disappointing. I know he hasn't had one of these for a while, but if I was to rate it out of 10, probably a 5.
Yeah, it's one of those where I think it was just unlucky. I mean, it looked like better. I mean, I think the problem you had is the final 3 big fights. The Katie Taylor fight sounded a bit dull. The Ben fight started off well, but kind of petered out. And then the main event was the main event. And fortunately, that's what's going to happen sometimes.
Yeah.
If the main event had not had that cut and would have turned into an absolute cracker, the main event usually is about 70-80% of how you rate the overall card, I think.
Yeah.
But when that happened, it's very hard for that card to do particularly well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Difficult.
I heard Ebbie in a bit of a war as well. She looked like busted up, but won again.
Yeah.
I was finding her interesting. She's obviously very lingerie and good-looking girl, but she doesn't half get stuck in as well. She's always got like a big black eye or something.
Yeah. Yeah, goes to war. Yeah, I've actually not seen her fight yet. I wanted to see her fight and also Hobie Price, but I just haven't had time to see it. Yeah. All right, let's rattle through some news. What news do you have?
We've got a date for Dillian Whyte. We know it's definitely the 30th. We don't know an opponent. We keep getting Franklin and a few others thrown around.
I've heard it's Chris Arreola now.
Well, it's hard to know. I mean, they are edging towards Chris Arreola, but I get this feeling there's going to be this disappointment of, oh, well, we couldn't, I don't know if it's to get you interested and then almost get you the mindset of, we'll go and watch that. And suddenly it's Franklin and it's like, suddenly, right, okay. I mean, I'll go no matter who it is, I think. But if it's Arreola, I'll be far more interested.
Yeah.
There'll be some people on the card. Like Savage and stuff, but I think we'll find out. Well, I keep saying this, it's a bit like the Joshua stuff. I think we're going to find out stuff this week. Well, we've got a date this week, so maybe and then next week's the opponents.
Just on that, whilst you've mentioned the 30th, I've heard that Dimitri Bivol is fighting John Ryder for obviously light heavyweight title. I think it's the WBA, isn't he, Dimitri Bivol? On
that card?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, against John Ryder.
Well, building it up, but then he does do this, and then you end up going, "Oh right." But he did say something like, I'm sure he said there's like a unification, so it's probably a female fight. I thought, but he did say there's another world title fight, so maybe it's that one. Yeah,
I think that is going to be it. Yeah, because John Ryder has been kind of floating around the super middleweight scene and doesn't seem to be getting the nod. So. And obviously, Dimitri Bivol is now looking for an opponent, having been mooted for facing Canelo, and then obviously that not coming off. So I've heard that that's potentially what they're looking at next, which could be quite interesting.
Eubank's got a fight. Underwhelming.
Yes, Sven Elbeer. I'd never heard of him.
There you go.
An absolute joke.
Into the Sky deal now. So I mean, for me, it's good to see Sky staying in boxing and carrying on. And obviously they're working with Salons and the Boxer. Is it called the promotion outfit?
Yeah. And something I can't remember his surname now.
They've obviously taken a few from Hearn, Savannah Marshall. Hughie Fury is probably the biggest name. I was a bit surprised with that one.
Hughie Fury,
Hearn let him go, but you've just not heard much about what fights he was going to get for him. Who's
Lewis Ritson?
Ritson, yeah. Which was, he's, you could see that coming because he's kind of got behind him, put some money into him, and he's not delivered. Basically.
Yeah. And obviously, I think the biggest name they've got is Josh Taylor by far.
Yeah, but we kind of knew that one, didn't we?
Yeah,
because
top rank. Yeah.
Him and Chris Eubank are probably the biggest names, but we knew about him with Top Rank already. But these were kind of more announced. And is it Riakporhe? Is it not Riakporhe?
Yeah, Richard Riakporhe. Yeah, I was quite surprised at that because I thought he would just go wherever. Is Dillian Whyte still managing him?
Well, I don't know that. That's made you question it.
Because I know he's part of. I know that Dillian Whyte was the one that kind of he was managing him. And he was on Dillian Whyte's undercard, but I don't know if he's maybe going his own way now or something.
Well, it did start rumours about Dillian Whyte being going with DAZN or not, and I think that's because it's quite rare for anyone to kind of say, here's the date someone's fighting officially, but we can't tell you who's fighting yet. So it was almost like Hearn wanted to come back with some news, but also to say it is Dillian Whyte and the DAZN will be all over it because it was all over the poster. So I don't know if that's what that was about. But anyway, good to see.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, the more promoters and the more networks in boxing, the better. And it's good to see. I mean, I would just like to see Chris Eubank in a decent fight. I don't see how he can be calling out the likes of Gennady Golovkin when he's fighting Sven Elbeer next. You know, he needs to be fighting. He needs to be making a statement against the top 10, top 15 guy. And that, you know, Sven Elbe is definitely not that. I am really just kind of sick to death of it now. And it's a shame because I really do like it as you know, take all the kind of the personality and the Instagram followers and, you know, this kind of alter ego that he seems to have. In the ring, he's actually quite exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Don't know what more I could say about that without, you know, going on a rant. But yeah, it is good to see them, you know, staying in boxing and actually a half decent schedule. Josh Taylor against Jack Catterall. That'll be in, is it November, December?
Yeah, what I'm wondering is, like, you can see a lot of, you know, there's also rumours that AJ is going to re-sign with Sky.
Really?
And not going to go under zone. And I think obviously we'll find out more after the next fight. But what's interesting is there's a lot more adverts now. I don't know if you've seen them on Sky for Usyk Joshua. There's a lot of adverts for it now. And not many weeks later is Fury Wilder. No idea who's showing that. Still, I mean, we didn't know last time about a few weeks out. No idea who the hell's showing that fight.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, I didn't think about that. Well, that was the thing that we were really baffled about. I think the fight was 2 weeks out, and they hadn't got a UK network, which is so strange, really strange. If I was a bet man, I think AJ is going to go with DAZN, or he might do a fight by fight similar to Canelo, but the majority of his fights will be with DAZN, just so that it doesn't scupper any unification. And I think Tyson Fury will move across the sky. I think his affiliation with Top Rank and Top Rank's affiliation with Sky, I think that makes, you know, BT are clearly not investing in boxing as they were maybe a year ago. Yeah, that'd be my bet. Tyson Fury will move across the sky, not on like a, but I reckon Sky will pick it up as well. And actually, Sky can have an awesome schedule because they're potentially going to get Brooke Khan. And if they'll have AJ Usyk, and then they'll have Fury Wilder. That's going to be 3 pay-per-views, and then Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall will be a Saturday night fight. Fight night.
Interesting that Hearn said something about, oh, we'll have another pay-per-view like card in December. So I was trying to wrap my brains of who that could be.
Yeah, I don't know who that could be. Is that going to be Chisora Parker too?
Actually, that's a good shout.
I don't see how that's pay-per-view-esque though, do you? The first fight stunk the place out. It wasn't a great first. I didn't think it was a good fight.
Well, it's all opinions, isn't it? But again, it depends what else you put on the card. But yeah, you're all right. It wasn't brilliant. What other news is there? Obviously, we've got the Valdez drug failure.
Yes, due to fight Conceição next Saturday, defending his is it WBO super featherweight? I forget which title he's got now. I think pretty sure it's the WBO. Yeah, I mean, what can we say about that? It's interesting how Eddie Hearn is very kind of tight-lipped on it. He's not really kind of giving too much of an opinion because obviously Eddie Reynoso trains Oscar Valdez, and I don't think he'll want to, you know, put out a scathing attack on him and ruin that relationship. That's very political, isn't it? But
it's tricky for. He's got people like Devin Haney, like saying like everybody in that camp's taking drugs.
Yeah.
And obviously Haney's with Hearn, I think, and Hearn's, that is tricky for him. And they all do it. There's this angle he's coming at now, going, well, you know, because I don't know tons about it, but it was banned on one list and not another, and it's really the commission's fault, and it's really it's up to the commissions, and it's really down to, like, you know, all these VADAs and all that. They've got to be consistent, which I do agree with, but it's almost like detracting from the fact that he still took something on a banned substance on one of the lists. Yeah,
it's been very political, and he's probably regretted. If you remember when Hearn was starting out, like 7 or 8 years ago, he was making these big kind of speeches and stances. I would never represent anybody that's taking drugs or anybody that's a drug cheat. And he came out at the heavyweight. What was the heavyweight that you liked that he was representing, that AJ was supposed to fight?
Oh yeah, Baby
Miller, yeah. So you know. But yeah, not good. Not good for the sport. Not a good effort for the sport at all. But yeah, it looks like that fight's going ahead.
I've not, yeah, but I've seen that Belly's done a big rant, his normal rant on drugs. So interesting, isn't it?
Next Saturday, Sunny Edwards is fighting as well. Tony Yoka is fighting on the Friday night against forget the guy's name now. But it's good to see Tony Yoka back in action. I've heard Shakur Stevenson versus Jamal Herring.
That's on Sky.
WBO. Is it? It's another one on Sky.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good fight. Very good fight.
Yeah.
For the WBO.
To the French heavyweight, what's his name?
Tony Yoka.
Yeah, isn't it about time he started fighting like someone of note?
I guess you could say he should be, yeah. I mean, if you're kind of drawing parallels to Joe Joyce, because they obviously turned over at the same time, both Olympians, Tony Yoka obviously beat him in the final. But Tony Yoka is a bit younger. You know, I think he's in his late 20s now. So
yeah, but he still feels quite a big gap if I look at the people he's fought compared to, you know, what's on.
Yeah, I think he's beaten Johan Dupar. Yeah, he probably does need to start stepping up soon, I would say. But Joe Joyce, they've had to really kind of accelerate his.
I know. I do expect him to be a little bit further, but I just don't know. Yoka, there's a lot spoken about. He's done well. It's just like, right, well, you know. But
he was banned for a year as well. I think we forget that. I think Tony Yoka was. I think he was banned for either a year or maybe even 18 months for taking drugs.
He's been infected by COVID a lot in terms of not being able to fight. Who's his promoter?
He's with Top Rank.
Right. And we've also got a fight. Oh, someone else was announced, wasn't it, this week?
Who?
Got out of my head.
Good job you did your research before we jumped on. Well, there's that one. Demetrius Andrade is due to fight. Looking for a defense in November. I don't think he's going to get Golovkin or Charlo. A bit mooted is Jason Quigley, which I think would be tremendous. Great fight for Jason Quigley. I'd love to see him get a shot. I think Felix Cash is also in the mix for that fight. But I would really love to see Jason Quigley. I think that's a great fight for him, and not an easy touch for Andrade at all. That would be a difficult one to call, I think. Yeah, and that's it. That's all I've got anyway. Unless you can remember the other fight that you said has been confirmed.
The last 30 seconds has been going through my mind, and I know I'll kick myself after. I'll send it and go, this was it. But it was around. I can't remember if it was a heavyweight now or something.
In America.
Say again.
In America.
I get the feeling it might be.
Great content, this.
I know. We'll get our subs up.
Yeah, probably not. All right. Well, shall we wrap it up, or do you want to have another 20 seconds just for us to? What we're going to do? I think we're just going to kind of do a bit of news. I think over the next couple of weeks, there's no real big fights that I'm particularly interested in. I don't know if there's anything that you're kind of keen to see. I think the next one for me is it's all about AJ Usyk now in a few weeks.
Yeah, and you've obviously got Coley on that card as well. So, but I think that's more of a routine defense. Hergovic, wasn't the Hergovic fight announced?
Yeah, is that the one that you were thinking of?
Yeah, or did we talk about that last week?
Yeah, we did. But who's he fighting then?
I can't remember. I think it was a heavyweight.
Okay. Well, we're first for news, so yeah. We'll break that next week. It's going to be people screaming at their phone now. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. What?
All 43.
Yeah, well, I haven't got anything else. Yeah, let's wrap it up, and we'll catch up next week for some news. If there's anything that breaks this week, maybe we can jump on. I would like to do a video on Virgil Ortiz, sort of revisiting his win, because I think the more I've thought about that, actually, I think it's a really, really impressive win, and I think he's a legit threat for that stacked welterweight division. Something I'd like to talk about, and yeah, maybe we can come up with some other topics as well. All right, thanks everybody for listening. I'll speak to you soon.